Alright, so good Saturday morning. I think this is the first time I'm actually on this end of the camera. So I decided today I'd go ahead and take another video. It's Saturday, January the 16th, I believe, 2015. I'm out working on the RV again. This time I'm going to try to go through it a little bit slower because I noticed on the other videos I kind of sped through and moved a little quick. And it appears my hand is shaking a little bit, holding this with my surgical shoulder. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this around and show you the progress that we've made, where we are now, and then kind of what I'm looking at doing next. Alright. Okay, and that was, so here's the front. As you can see, based on the other videos, there really isn't much of a change. Actually, I haven't done anything yet to the very front of it. The main thing that I need to concentrate on up here is sealing the front windshield. It rained a couple of days ago, it was early last week, and there was a little bit of moisture buildup on the inside of the window, right at the bottom on the inside. So there's a leak somewhere in that window. Okay, as far as the side goes, not a lot going on up here by the front door, the driver door, but we've got a number of Bondo patches going on right here. Alright, so this hole here, what used to be a hole right there, was actually the, which one was that? Is it the water heater? Yeah, I believe that one. Nope. Alright, so that one is where there was a number of ports where there was water. That's where you would fill the clean water tank, the freshwater tank. And then this one here, this large hole here, is where the water heater was. So there was a fairly large hole. It extends up a little bit in this weird kind of L shape because as I was removing the water heater, some of the side of the vehicle, the fiberglass gave way and split. So I shored that up a little bit. I haven't sanded this yet, so it looks rough. It's going to look rough anyway because I don't know how to use Bondo very well. And then this one back here was another spot for, there was a hose of sorts sticking out of there. I'm not 100% sure of what that was for. Alright, so this one here, that was a window. I decided to go ahead and get rid of that one since we've got a window in front of and behind. So I went ahead and sealed that one off. We are going to have lighting inside, so this one here, what I did was cut a piece of wood to the same size as the inside of the vent. That was actually the exhaust vent for the overhead for the range stove. So I cut a piece of wood, I treated the wood, I sealed it, and then I put silicone inside of the vent so as to keep any moisture out, and then I've got to do a bead around the outside as well. So that's about the extent of what's going on the outside here. What you can't see because of the angle, and I guess I could crawl under, but I'll do that maybe on another video. What you can't see is that the gray and black water tanks have been removed, and then this port up front is where the propane, the liquid propane was. I removed that as well, or my neighbor removed it, but we took it out, so provide a little bit more safety. I took the furnace out, right, so there's no heater currently. We're going to try to get to that a little bit later on. Nothing on the back has been touched. I would climb up on the roof and show you the holes that we patched up there with the fiberglass, because there was the port for the bathroom, the black water tank exhaust, and then there was also a hole for some sort of vent that was above the furnace. So both of those have been filled, as well as where the television antenna was. So those on the roof have been filled, and I'll get to those at a later date. I can't climb the ladder with my left arm, unfortunately. Okay, so this window, we've got two in the back. This window I've taken off, scraped the old putty that was on it, resealed it, and then put a bead of all-weather white silicone around the outside. So this window and the one up front that we'll get to in a moment, I did a little differently to see which one holds up a little bit better to water in the near term, right? So it's just kind of a test to see which one is going to be the better option. So this one has 3/4 inch or half-inch thick, 3/4 inch thick rubber window insulation, interior, exterior, and then the bead of caulk around the outside. The front window actually has some stuff that comes in a roll and you can pick what size you want it to be, and I took four seams and wrapped that around. We'll get to it. It didn't seal very well. Alright, so another hole that was filled. This one was to the furnace. It was just a little hole to be able to reach in there and kind of vacuum it out. This here, you can see there's a piece of silver tape attached to it. So that has been sealed off. That was just a port. You would, put a key in there and then open it up, and it was like a little storage area, but it was leaking inside of the vehicle. So what I've done is put some Bondo inside of there and a piece of cardboard to kind of have something for the Bondo to adhere to. But the next step is we're going to change out the screws, put a bead of caulk around the outside of it, and then put some caulking silicone on the inside to stick the door to the vehicle, because it's not going to be an access port anymore. Alright, and then this here was actually how you got to the rear of the refrigerator. Alright, so the fridge would plug in the hole that was there and vent, and then there's the vent that was removed. So I went ahead and took that off this morning and prepped that spot. So that's curing right now. Later on today I should be able to sand it and put fiberglass on it. Alright, moving on to the front window, not the passenger side. So this is the one that I use I don't know what the heck it's called. I can show you the box inside. But I use that on the inside. Unfortunately, because of how ribbed the outside of the vehicle is here, the low points of the fiberglass didn't set very well. It didn't seal properly, which was a bit frustrating because I had just got the window back up on there. But what I did was used a construction grade caulking or silicone around the outside, and then after taping or masking off the windows, you see there's kind of a missed spot that I have to touch up. But after I masked off the windows, I actually used something similar to Plastidip. So it's a spray-on sealant, and here I'll show you the can. This here adjust. Alright, so that's the primer. So I use this stuff here, Rust-Oleum leak seal. I read a few reviews on it. It seemed to be pretty good stuff. And the intent behind me using this was actually to shore up the silicone that I put around the window. So, 3 layers of protection is what I was going for each of the windows, each of the areas that has a potential for water seepage. Alright, so we'll go ahead and step inside. Tools and stuff all over the floor. I've got my bleach and water mixture that I've been continuing to apply to the black areas because I want to make sure that I do as much mold abatement as I can. I will be hitting these with 60 grit sandpaper. Alright, so working on getting that stuff off. Recently purchased a grinder because of all of the rust. Using the sander just didn't quite do it. And then even using metal, here we go, these here, right? So you just attach this to your drill, cordless or corded, whatever the case may be, right? And it's supposed to help and remove rust and paint and other things. It worked okay for the top coat, but as you've seen in some of the other videos, and I'll show you again here. Oh, did I miss? Okay. It's pretty substantial. So I went ahead and got a grinder. Unfortunately for me, I got a cordless grinder. If I'd have known then what I know now, which was 2 days ago, I would have got a corded grinder. So this is kind of a before and after, okay? So here's what the rust looks like. I mean, it is on there pretty thick. It's bad enough in some spots that it actually leached into the wood and made the wood metallic, if that makes any kind of sense to you. And then this is what it looks like after using the grinder. So here's the not so good news. That strip right there took about 5 minutes, quite a bit of pressure, and some real elbow grease to get it to that point. And oh, by the way, the battery on the cordless grinder gave way after about this 2-foot span of rust cleaning. But that's all right. I'm going to keep at it. We're going to get this as safe as we possibly can and as clean as we possibly can. You may remember on previous videos, let me scoot over, that this here was open, right? That's where I had taken the piece of wall out and framed it out with this wood here, right? So there's a piece of it peeking out around the corner. So we've got that portion covered, and then we used, oh goodness, they are like staples, elongated staples. I mean, they're probably about 3/4 inch. I had the power up a little bit too high early on and shot it through the wood. I mean, there's nothing really much to this. As you can see, it's pretty thin stuff. So it shot straight through. So I've got a couple spots like here where there is no metal showing, and then I turned it down, reduced the pressure, was able to get a nice solid grip. So that's not going to come off. Now I just got to put a strip in here, and then of course make the adjustment for the angle of the wheel well here. So that'll be the next piece that we work on today, and then after that I'm going to start working on the ceiling. So I went out and got 1/2 inch plywood. That's what they used in here. All right, so I got 1/2 inch plywood. What you're seeing here with this huge gap, that is actually a piece of 1 inch, what do they call it, standard wood or regular wood or something like that. All right, so I'm going to use 1/2 inch plywood, and I'm going to run it from, here, let me just scoot back. This is kind of awkward holding this and trying to talk. So from this cross beam here back to the next one, right? So that'll be one span of it. But depending on, and I've got them cut in 8-foot segments, 8 foot by 3 foot. They're usually 8 by 4, so I did an 8 foot by 3 foot because 3 feet will take us out to right where that marking is. I don't know if you can, I can't even see that. Oh well, it takes us out to about that smudge mark right there. So I'm going to do 3 foot span on this side, 3 foot span on that side, less where the vent fan is. But my intent is to run it from this back beam here, just above that piece of wood, past this one, and then halfway across the span of this beam. Okay, so what I'm looking to do is take it to halfway across the support. Use liquid nails to put the 1/2 inch plywood and attach it to the beam here, and then the beams going to the rear. And the reason I'm only going halfway across is because when I put the next span of 1/2 inch plywood, I'll put a bead of liquid nails in, push the 1/2 inch plywood until it sets evenly and comfortably on the other piece of plywood and on top of the metal beam, and then run it to the next span. Let's see what else we got going on in here. I cut the bottom portion off there so I could, of the wood, so I could get to the metal and clean that up a bit more. Then we've got a couple of holes, and what I did with these, because I will have flooring of some sort, I just fill them with insulating foam, and then I'll trim it down a little bit to make it even with the floor. So that'll be covered up either with tile or hardwood or something. See that there's still that space in the back. The intent here is to build out a small wall, if you will, from the bottom here up either to the bend or up to this beam with a hinge on the floor, so that we can pull the door back and still get down into where the lights are and the wiring. And then a piece of wood here across this portion. I thought about putting in a window, but I've got enough holes in this thing. I don't think I need any more, especially with me on the back end of a power tool. And then the intent again here, because we'll have the 1/2 inch plywood, right, that's running up here and across, is to put a piece of wood from here to the top, right, hinged probably at the top, right into the 1/2 inch plywood, so that we can get into the wiring in the back of the vehicle here as well. And let's see, that's the generator, ladder, another wheel well, and then, you know, the cab of the vehicle. There's really no change other than there's more stuff, right? There's more working materials setting up there. All right, now this thing, I took pictures of it. Not 100% sure as to its function and if I'm going to need this anymore. All right, so this is a panel board, as it says here in the corner. Right, and then some of the things that they have marked. There we go, focus. Lights, range hood, more lights, furnace, water pump, and then optional TV antenna. So I don't have the antenna. I took that off. I don't watch TV anyway. Water pump. We don't have a water pump anymore. I took that out. I actually still have the pump, but there's no need for it because I'm not going to be pumping water unless we put a fountain in here. No furnace. All of the lights have been removed. The range hood, that's gone because of the stove, and then lights. Now, I've still got all the wiring for the lights, and it's going to be important to have power to those, but I don't know that I'm going to need a box this big and bulky in order to run power to those items. Now, I haven't cut any of the wires off of that. You see there's still wiring over here on the floor. I've got a number of the outlets, like this one here, right, the 2 plug outlets, all over the place. I did cut all of the wiring, like here for that vent, and here on this vent, right? So I cut the wiring off of those. Pretty basic stuff. I mean, if I'm thinking it's basic, you got a positive and a negative, right? We can get the wiring run for those pretty easily, I'm sure. And if not, then I'll have to have an electrician or something come out and give me a hand. But really the only wiring that we're really concerned with in here is to ensure that we have at least a couple on each side, so at least 2 sets of 2 on each side of plugs. Oh, the face just came right up off of there, huh? That's that 1984 build. Right, so we want to have at least, I don't know that it has to be a GFI because of the fact that we don't have a kitchen anymore. But we do want to have plugs, at least 2 on each side of the RV, so that if somebody needs to plug something in or charge a cell phone, or even if we have items, electronic items that need to be plugged in, then people have the ability to use those and test them out. So we'll get those put in, and I think that's about it for now, really. That's where we stand. Well, there's another spot of nice shiny bare metal. And all the metal we'll be treating, I will likely be using, there it is, Rust-Oleum product, which is, this one here is a shiny metal. It's a bright silver. So you'll see a lot of the imperfections in the metal, which is fine. I mean, we're all imperfect people, right? So there's no way I'm going to make the inside of this vehicle perfect. But I think spraying that Rust-Oleum on there will help to treat the metal so that this type of stuff here, this rust that we have going on, does not happen again. Between that and me using probably way more fiberglass and resin than is necessary to seal a hole, between those 2 things, we should be pretty watertight in here. All right. Well, if you all have any questions or concerns or ideas, I mean, shoot, if you want to say, hey, I know what you should do with that back wall, please let me know. I am most certainly open to ideas. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Oh, sideways. And I hope you all have a, oh, good golly. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care.